Hello Chipmunk and Chipette fans, and welcome to another Alvin and the Chipmunks elaboration video. My name is Grandy Tamias, and today's topic will be, should there be more Alvin and the Chipmunks video games? Now, some of you might be thinking that this is an odd area of merchandising for me to center an entire video around because there just isn't really that much to talk about. In fact, we can count all the video games ever released for Alvin and the Chipmunks on just one hand. But as always, I wanted to interest you with the particular ramifications of certain trends that I have noticed with the Alvin and the Chipmunks franchise in terms of marketing and why we may or may not get certain things in the future. Unfortunately, this video will steer more towards the latter. So the three video games for this entire franchise are Alvin and the Chipmunks for the 2007 movie, Alvin and the Chipmunks The Squeakquel, and Alvin and the Chipmunks Chipwrecked. 4 if you count the short-lived iMonk cap, but I'll get to that in a minute. All of the movie ones were in a gameplay style similar to Guitar Hero, where you would press buttons or make motions so that something would fall into a circle to the beat of a song. It was basically that for maybe a dozen or so levels, with some additional bonus song levels if you were interested. That's it, really. No roaming around a map, no collecting things, no completing tasks, or fighting enemies. Of course, they didn't need to be that way. There was definitely an appeal to the Guitar Hero music beat playstyle, whatever you want to call it, as Guitar Hero obviously proved. But seriously, a lot of kids' movies I saw when I was younger had video games that did involve running around and trying not to be killed. But an Alvin and the Chipmunks game like that probably wouldn't work for reasons that I'll get back to in a bit. I've only ever played the Nintendo DS version of the 2007 movie game, but it also came out for the PlayStation 2, PC, and Nintendo Wii. The sequel, though, was only made for the Nintendo systems, and Chipwrecked, it was the same, except for the Xbox 360 as well. The first game was published by Brash Entertainment, which was a very unsuccessful company that only published 4 other games, while the other 2 were published by Majesco Entertainment. The Squeakquel, I think, was very similar to the first game, but with the addition of the Chipettes, while Chipwrecked had a mechanic where you could customize a chipmunk by purchasing clothing and accessories using stars you earn from performing the songs well enough. As for iMonk, it was released in summer of 2012, was available for iOS version 4.0 or later, and only compatible with the 3rd, 4th, and 5th generation iPhone, iPod, as well as the iPad. Basically, it was an Alvin and the Chipmunks version of Talking Tom, where Alvin would repeat back to you what you say in his own voice, as well as perform a few simple commands like dancing or playing a guitar. Unfortunately, Alvin was the only character in the app, and the other Chipmunks and Chipettes were never made. Interestingly, the design for Alvin was remarkably similar to the ones from the CGI Nickelodeon series that came a few years later. Now, unlike the first 3 films, the 4th live-action installment, Alvin and the Chipmunks The Road Chip, did not have its own tie-in video game, though the reason why is unknown and not a lot of people have questioned it besides me. My theory, though, is that it might have something to do with the lack of a marketing push for the film, which I mentioned before in my Chipmunk DVD podcast, but I might save the full situation of that for another video if and when I find some more information on it. Another reason could simply be that tie-in games for kids' movies, or actually a lot of movies in general, are kind of going the way of the dinosaur. Gaming as an industry has gotten a whole lot more serious in the years since the Chipwrecked video game was released, and it'd be hard for a new Alvin and the Chipmunks game, similar to the movie ones, to find a place in that market. Everything these days are either battle royales, first-person shooters, all that gritty stuff, and this is one of the reasons why I hardly play video games anymore. Too convoluted, too competitive, or too violent. But what if there was a video game based on the CGI series? What would that be like? Well, more than likely it would not have threats or enemies or health bars, because I'm not sure how the creators of the franchise, the Bagdasarian family, would feel about their beloved creations dying in any capacity, even if it is just a video game. Same goes for the Chipmunks and Chipettes actually fighting enemies. They wouldn't want their characters to be associated with violence, even if it is mild in a lot of the way kids' movie video games are, where the enemies just die and despawn after the player knocks them down flat on their backs. Not that, as far as the CGI series is concerned, there would be many enemies to fight anyway, at least ones about the same size as the Chipmunks. Come to think of it though, the Chipwrecked video game probably could have worked in this regard. They were on an island, so that's a lot of opportunities for maps to play on, and they could have fought small animals as enemies, like spiders or the honey badger, like seen in the movie. Still, the Bagdasarians would not condone this type of violence in a game based on their IP, and neither would Jeanette, because she loves animals. But anyway, let's get back to the hypothetical CGI series video game. It would still most likely be music focused, but that doesn't mean they couldn't incorporate a map and movable characters. Maybe that could be played in between concerts to accomplish certain tasks given by non-playable characters like Dave or the other humans on the show, and give each of the 6 Chipmunks and Chipettes a unique ability that could help out in those instances. Like, for example, maybe Alvin could jump very high, or Simon could repair broken things. Maybe another character could go through small spaces or climb up a certain surface. And just for fun, maybe there could be a similar mechanic to the Chipwrecked video game where you can customize your own chipmunk character with accessories that you can unlock by performing songs or in-game currency. The songs, though, well, there's a lot to choose from, and maybe it could be an opportunity to include full versions of songs that haven't been on albums yet. Certainly as many as possible, but they could take up a large amount of data, so they might cap out at 20 songs at most. Now, whatever this hypothetical game turns out being like, would it sell well enough? Well, based on what I said earlier about the decreasing market for games based on children's IPs, I'd say no. It would be sidelined and most likely tank in terms of sales. Who knows, there may not even be a big enough audience from the show right now to justify making such a game. So, unfortunately, I think we're not going to get any more video games ever again for the Alvin and the Chipmunks franchise. And even if we did, it would more than likely be just based around songs like the movie games were, if the public is even into those kinds of video games anymore. Feel free to let me know in the comments if you would like for there to be a video game based on the CGI Alvin and the Chipmunks series, and what you would want it to be like. Please also consider sharing this video around the Chipmunk fan communities and or leaving a suggestion for a future video topic. Don't forget that you're also welcome to leave a like and subscribe. And with that said, I hope that you enjoyed this video, and thank you for your time in watching it.